All right, so again, 2 blocks, a strap, and something that you could use so that you don't have to go all the way to the floor. I'm using a chair. You could also use a little table or a permanent. I have a movable chair, but if you have a permanent piece of furniture, that'd be fine. Great. We're going to start on our backs. So just take a couple of minutes to stop before we start. I think the bookends of our practice probably are the most important. The front and the back, the beginning and the end. So just with legs long or knees bent, resting your knees together, just come into some stillness. Quiet your mind and your heart. And allow your body just to be heavy on the earth. So heavy, heavy on the earth. And maybe bring your hands to around the heart center, just touching in there and deciding what is it you want out of practice today. What are you here for? Succeed. And allow yourself to drop into the floor. And then if you don't have your knees bent, go ahead and bend your knees, take the soles of your feet to the floor, wide as the mat. Let your arms rest out to your sides, and then just softly move your knees back and forth. Feeling into your pelvis, your low back, and just an unwinding. We call this the unwinding in the somatic work. So knees move back and forth. And then the next time knees go to one side, just take 2 full breaths. You'll have one leg in internal rotation and one in external rotation. And then inhale your knees back up to center and go to the other side. Same thing, take 2 rounds of breath here. And then back to center. And now reach your legs long on the mat. Arms long. So you make the shape of an X and reach through one heel. Feel how that hip kind of slips down. And then same arm reaches away. So you're creating some length through your side body. And then you'll release. Reach through the opposite heel and that arm, creating length through the opposite side body. And then you could just move back and forth, pulsing from one side to the other. So even though we're doing a leg and hip class, we have to have the rest of our body on board. Let's bring the soles of the feet back to the floor. And we'll just take some rolling bridges here. So as you press into your feet, lift your hips, let your arms come behind you, and then lower everything back down to the floor. And depending on the how open you are in your spine at this point in time. See if you can really unfurl one vertebra at a time. Now you probably have a sticky point in your back. I do. It's in my low back. And so you might leave your arms behind you the next time you sweep up. And then as you roll down, really see if you can really isolate one vertebra at a time, especially in your particular area where there might be a lot of congestion. For me, it's like, oh, I get down to about the thoracic 10 or 11 or 12, and then I just want to dump the rest of my back to the floor. So I'm really going to try to unwind all the way back, then bring my arms back down beside me. So repeat that a few times. The cascading bridge, the rolling bridge. Good. Maybe one more time on that. And then we'll meet in a position of comfort. So feet, knees bent, soles of the feet to the floor, and you'll need a block now. Well, let's take the block between the upper inner thighs, squeeze the block between your thighs, bring your arms in the robot arm position with fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, draw pubic bone away from navel. As you press into your feet, lift your hips, squeeze the block. And then exhale, roll back down. And just do a few rounds here. So the legs are really considered part of the core, especially the inner legs. We're going to work all around today. We'll hit everything, hamstrings, hips, outer hips, inner legs, lower legs, ankles, feet. But feel this as you move in and out of this shape, really squeezing the block. You should feel your adductors, adductors, the inner legs working as we press against the block. Then the next time your hips come down to the floor, just release the block, set your hips up enough to slide the block underneath your sacrum. And if it works for you, stretch both legs long and just a little counter for the front of the thigh, the front of the hip there. Take 2 rounds of breath here. Okay, then soles of the feet back to the floor, slip the block out and set it to the side. And now bring your feet as wide as the edge of your mat. And we'll do the same thing. We'll press up into bridge. So feet are as wide as the edge of the mat. Find that little bit of anterior tilt in your pelvis first as you press into your feet, lift your hips, come up into bridge, roll down. 1 vertebra at a time. When you come to the floor, you just inhale again, press up. So feet are wide, knees will splay out here. This is intentional. Knees will be kind of turned out to the outside. So take maybe 6 to 10 of these and feel for a little bit different engagement in your legs, in your hips as you press and lift. Really feel the outer glutes working here, the gluteus maximus, right? Working here. Make sure that your movement is contained in your breath. So the breath is a little bit longer than the movement. Inhale brings you up, and the exhale brings you down. Good. And take 1 more. And then the next time your hips hit the floor, let's bring the feet back in so that the feet are lined up with the hips. And you can just reach the back of your heels with your fingertips. Arms in the the robot arms, a little inhale to tilt the pelvis forward. And now press and lift, reaching your hips up again. Now lift your toes off the floor. Draw your knees away from you isometrically. And if you want to reach underneath, just feel how your hamstrings are engaged here in this position. All right, can you keep that engagement in your hamstrings, but set your feet back down onto the floor? Keep the engagement in the hamstrings. And then you can hold for 3, 2, 1. We'll roll everything back down. We'll do that again. So when you come to the floor, a little forward tilt of the pelvis, anterior tilt, press into your feet, lift your toes off the floor, press your heels into the floor, and drag your knees away from you isometrically. Feel the engagement in your hamstring, the attachment point right up next to your lower butt muscles. And we'll hold this for 3. You can lower your feet back down, keep the engagement in your hamstrings. 2, 1, and here we go. Slight, nice release down to the floor. Good. Last time now, just pick your hips up and set the block underneath your sacrum once more and lengthen through your legs. Lengthen through your legs, one leg at a time or both legs if that doesn't bother your low back. Take 2 rounds of breath here. Very good. Then soles of the feet to the floor, and press up, move the block out to the side. You'll need your block now. Your strap, sorry. You'll need your strap. So take your strap and either you put a big loop in your strap or just have it free. Take the strap around both feet, reaching your feet up towards the ceiling. You don't need to make it a forward fold, so legs perpendicular to the floor. And let's have the hands about halfway up the strap so you feel some engagement in your biceps. And then press feet into the strap, pull strap against feet, and feel for a little opening in the back of your legs and your hamstrings. Good, just be patient with this subtle work, not in a hurry. Slip right foot out, leave left foot in, right foot comes to the floor, and then grab your strap a little closer to the left foot and bring your left foot out, Supta Pada Uttanasana, out to the left. Maybe you have a little kickstand with your left arm and you're reach through especially the big toe mound. As you reach through the big toe mound, can you feel a lengthening in your inner thigh? The inner left leg really getting a lengthening here. And then from here, just allow your hand to loosen so the strap slides through your hand and you can kind of take, have a little length in your strap and kind of pulse your leg up and down. Foot comes up a little closer towards even with your shoulder and then down by your hip. So you're pulsing the leg. And then we'll inhale, reach the left leg up and come across the midline. So take the strap in your right hand, come across your midline and a little twist here. I'm sort of up against the wall. I don't have the space, but that's okay. I'm gonna still get something out of this. Good. Then left foot back up to the ceiling, both feet come back into the strap. And now slide your hands all the way down the strap so your upper arms are on the floor. You got a full bend in your arms, biceps, getting a little bit of attention here. Then we'll slip the left foot out and we'll take the right foot out to the right. Again, and this side might feel a little different. Reach through the big toe mound reach through the big toe mound of the right foot so you feel a lengthening in the inner right leg. Reach through the big toe mound. So it's like you're pressing the big toe mound away. Now I feel that we talked in a previous class about this, the medial part of the hamstring. When I really press through my big toe mound, I feel the lengthening in the medial, the inside part of my hamstring. Great area that needs a lot of attention that we tend to neglect. Then I'll inhale, right leg up. Strap comes into the left hand, you can straighten your left leg and come across your midline with the right leg and twist in the opposite direction. You can hold on to the strap and have your left arm like a little kickstand. Oh, we got to go back to that side. I forgot the little pulsing, so we'll go back over there. And you can lengthen away from the strap and just let your right leg sort of pulse back and forth up towards, lined up with your shoulder, lined up with your hip. A little pulsing there. As we're just feeling into the hip structure. See where we're at today. Great. And then you can bring both feet back to the strap, into the strap. And now let's take hands as close to the feet as possible. And then roll the eyes of your elbows up towards the ceiling. So external rotation in the arms. Press your feet into the strap. Feel an opening behind the knees, hopefully. Back of the legs. Okay, then you can bend your knees, take the strap over to the side. And we're going to do a little bit of just fascial work. So with your right leg on the floor, either knee bent or straight, lift your left leg up towards the ceiling and just take your hands and rub. I call it scribbling. So you're going to scribble all over your thigh, front and back. You're just kind of rubbing, exciting the fascial network around your knee. Lower leg, you might have to bend your leg to get it in close, lower leg. And then you can take your leg with your left hand and rub the top of your foot, top of your left foot with your right hand. Scribble around on the top of your foot. Then your ankle again. Then your lower leg, your knee, your thigh, your outer hip. Good. Set that down. Take the right leg up. Start on the thigh. Just imagine you're scribbling with your crayons, and then around your knee, lower leg. You have to bend your knee here to get the top of your foot. Lower leg, around your knee, thigh, outer hip. Now set that ankle, right ankle on your left knee, starting with your left foot on the floor, and draw the right knee away. Draw the right knee away. You could even take your right hand and press a little bit. Then lift knees towards your chest. Let's not take anything through the space. Just pulse the right knee away a little bit till you can find some good sensation in the right hip. I'm not very far off the floor. The tendency when we bring our knees into the chest is to collapse the right knee in. So we want to keep the figure four. It is called a figure four. So we keep that figure four. So I'm not going to really bring the knees into the chest too much. I really just want some sensation from my own functional mobility here. Okay, then we'll switch. We'll take the feet back to the floor, left ankle onto the right knee. And again, you can bring the left toes back towards the shins. Just lift the knees towards the chest. Right foot comes off the floor. You could take your left hand and press the left knee away a bit. But without putting your hands through the space or grabbing the right leg, just use your own functional mobility to pull your knees in towards your chest enough to get some sensation in the left hip. Great. And then we'll cross the ankles and do some rocking until you can rock right up to a seat. Come over onto all fours. So table, take a few rounds of cat-cow on your table. And you could have this be, you could add some rocking to your cat-cow. I think this is one of my new favorite things for my back. Feels really nice. And then we'll come to neutral spine. Take the left leg long, turn your toes under and pulse that. Getting some opening in your calf and Achilles tendon. Yep, then take the other leg back, your right leg back, turn toes under and pulse here. Great, now with knees back on the floor, you're gonna bring both feet towards one another and you're gonna cross your legs behind you, putting your right shin on your left calf. And then you're gonna come back and put as much pressure as you can. It's not gonna be a great amount of pressure, but I'm sort of stimulating the belly of my left calf. And I can't sit at all here, but I'm gonna go for 2, 1, come back, switch it up. So right leg's on the bottom, left leg's on the top, and then you bring your hips back towards your heels, just putting a little pressure, creating a little sensation in the calf. So a lot of times tight hamstrings are because we have really tight calves. Come back up. Okay. Legs back to straight. Now cross the right ankle on top of the left ankle and set your hips back. Now this one is a little more doable, I think, for most of us. And I can come almost to, with even not any weight on my hands, sitting back, tops of the feet getting stretched here, Achilles tendon. Then come forward again, switch it up, right leg's on the bottom, cross your left ankle on top of your right ankle, set yourself back. For 3, 2, 1, and come forward. And let's inhale to cow. Turn toes under, exhale, up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, drop your knees, come to cow. Exhale, tops of the feet to the floor, set your hips back, child's pose. Inhale, cow. Exhale, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, knees to the floor, come to cow. And exhale, round your spine, set your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. Okay, take a few rounds of that. Cow is always in between either child's pose or downward facing dog. It doesn't matter what order you go in, just connecting to hips to spine, getting warmed up all through our body, our shoulders. So take a few rounds on your own. No need to be in a hurry. And we'll meet in child's pose. Drop your elbows to the floor, and then see if you can get your forehead to rest on the floor. You could always set a block there if the forehead won't come to the floor. And then on your next inhale, sweep your arms up and come to standing on your knees. Exhale, hands to heart center, and then hands to hips. And let's bring the right foot forward so you're in the 90-90. Hands to the front of your right thigh and drop down into a lunge. Pressing back, straightening the front leg, bringing hands beside your hips or beside your, maybe you're kind of lined up with the knee that's on the floor, the left knee. And a little stretch here. Now you could take your front foot and move it to the right or the left and see what happens in the calf and the hamstring when you move the foot to either the right or the left. Good. Then we'll inhale, bring the hands back to the front of the thigh and come forward. Now, if your knees are bothering you here, take your time to put a blanket or pillow or something underneath that knee. And then we'll come back again. Hands can come down to blocks or the floor as you reach the hips back. And then this time we'll bring the hands forward on the floor or blocks, turn the back toes under, lift the back leg, come into a lunge, a high lunge. And then set your hips back, straighten through your front leg so you're making a pyramid shape. And then keep releasing the hips back, sweep that front foot back to the back, downward facing dog. Pedaling through your legs here. Reaching one heel towards the floor. Take your time, feel a nice opening in the calf as you bend the opposite leg and really stretch through your calf muscle. And then next inhale, bring your knees down to the floor, cow. Exhale, hips back, round your back, come to child's pose. Elbows to the floor, forehead to the floor. Let your back spread wide. And next inhale, reach up here with your arms, stand up on your knees. Exhale, hands to heart center and to your hips. And then balance weight into the right knee as you bring your left foot forward. Opposite side, 90-90. So set up your space with something under that right knee if you need, or blocks for the front leg. Hands to the front of the thigh and come down into a lunge. Then press your hips back, reaching your hands down to the floor. You'll be in a kind of a pyramid on the back knee. And then come forward again in the lunge. Reach your hips back, hands to the floor, or right underneath your body. Then you can frame the front foot with your hands as you come forward this last time. Turn your back toes under, lifting the leg off the floor, high lunge. Good. Set hips back, pyramid. Then you can play with your front foot, turning the toes in or the toes out, feeling and getting a sense of where in the hamstring you are stretching, and then come forward again to the lunge. Keep the back leg lifted. Then reach your hips back, pyramid shape. Hands to the floor, Slide that front foot out and back, come to downward facing dog. Inhale, come down to your knees and come to cow. Exhale, round through your back, sit your hips back, 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 and come into child's pose. Put your elbows to the floor, forehead to the floor. Last one, next inhale, come up to cow. Turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands. Put your weight back in your heels and reach your hands forward, Utkatasana. And then press up to standing. Okay, so now you're gonna need, either need the chair or a set of blocks. So I'll show both variations. So we're gonna just work with the Utkatasana shape with the chair. So if I'm using the chair, I'm standing in front of the chair, feet hip distance apart, and I'll simply come down to the chair in my Utkatasana shape and press back up. Okay, so I'm just gonna set my hips down to the chair, to the edge of the chair, barely touching, arms up, biceps by ears, and then I'll press myself back up. So that could be enough for you today. And if you've got, you feel like going a little bit deeper, you can set up your blocks and come to your blocks, touch your butt to your blocks and stand back up. Utkatasana and a little deep squat. Okay, so working with the legs, feet right underneath the hips, feet parallel to the hip or lined up underneath the hips. You could also work the thighs or the legs out so that you're in more of a, what we call a sumo squat. Okay, and wherever you are, just take a few more rounds. Take a few more rounds there. And then coming back to standing in Tadasana. Standing in Tadasana. Have a block for your Tadasana. And we'll start with the left foot. So I'm going to come to stand on the block. Now, if you don't have a sturdy block, you don't really want to do this on the block. You maybe would need to get your Webster's dictionary out or something, but you need to have a sturdy block. And as you stand up on the block, hover the opposite foot. Hover the opposite foot. Feel the standing leg, outer hip really works to come in. And then here, just play. Bring the foot forward, out to the side, crossing in the front of the body, cross midline, bending through the standing leg, bring your free leg behind you, cross midline, touch your toes. Come back, hover the foot. Okay, do that a couple times. This was actually first introduced to me when I was doing a climbing training. So really getting the, we are often standing on one foot and on a hold, and then we're reaching, trying to find where our next foothold is going to be. So a couple times there, and then we'll shift to the other side, other foot. So come down. Once you come down, you can do some bouncing, heel bouncing, right? Shake out the legs, walk around your space, and then we'll take right foot to the block. Stand up on the block and hover the other foot. So really just, you might even do that a couple times. I mean, this is what we train our our hips and legs to do, right? Standing, walking, hiking. So do that a couple times, feel how that feels. And then we can come out in front, out to the side, cross midline in front, bend through the standing leg, sweep the free leg behind, touch your toes, find a little fun balance movement there, and do this side a couple times. Makes you really appreciate what those ice skaters in the Olympics can do, right? Holy cow, landing on that little sharp edge. Here we go, good. And then once you do a few rounds on this side, you can step off your block, bounce your heels, bounce your heels, bounce your heels, bounce your heels. And then we'll take the blocks and move them out of the way or set them up by your chair. So now I'm gonna take the seat of the chair facing me. And you could use a chair here, you could use the edge of a table, a low table, your couch, but we're gonna do some dips. We've done this before in class. You just wanna figure out, you'll have to play around with the spacing a little bit, but put your weight into your right foot. As you bend the right knee slightly, you'll dip down, touching fingertips toward the chair and lifting the left leg back behind you. And then you sweep everything back to the starting position. Just touch your left foot to the floor. Don't hang out there. And then same thing, dip again. And then you just come, it's kind of like, we used to do this a lot in class, where I would just have you do like the dippy bird thing, right? But use the chair here, dip down, reach the back leg out. There's a little bend in the standing leg, the front leg. And you want to go till you feel some fatigue. So go until you feel the glutes there on the standing leg really fatiguing. Okay? And then once you've gotten some good sensation there, we'll switch to the other side. So take your time, and when you're ready, weight goes into the left foot, bend a little the standing leg, and then we'll dip down, just touching the chair, coming back, repeating. You know, I've been doing these for my hips, and maybe set of 3, 10 to 12 times. But you choose what feels like the right thing for you. And we'll just repeat. Good. Now we'll go to second set. So back to the first side. Now, if you want to continue to use the edge that you're using, but if you want to go a little deeper, maybe a set of blocks. So I'm just touching down to my blocks, coming back up. Great. 6 to 12 to 20. Take your time. There is no hurry. I recently had a reconnection with an older friend asking about yoga and, could it help me with this or that? And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're committed to the rest of your life. Yoga is a long-term practice, friends. Okay, let's go to the other side. So weight into the left foot, bending that standing leg. And maybe you're going to the same surface, but maybe you can go a little deeper. We just touch down and come back up. Touch down, come back up. And one side is probably going to feel different than the other. You've got a little bit more going on, okay? And then third round could be blocks flat, or it could be to the floor, or it could be that same surface. But let's do one more round. So weight into the right foot. You'll bend the standing leg as you dip down. Back, other leg comes out behind you, shoots out behind you, come back up. And we're gonna repeat somewhere between 6 to 20. There's a little bend in my standing leg. The leg that comes up behind me doesn't have to be straight. Just getting the work in the outer hip. Okay, let's do second side. So you're bringing that standing leg, you know, that standing leg comes in towards midline. Put a little bend in your knee, and then off you go. Make sure you're breathing. Yes, good. Finishing up your rounds. Okay, and when you've had enough of that, just come to a Tadasana with the feet wide and do some bouncing. Bounce the heels. Let the bounce, let it move all through your body. So really loving this fascial system work. Anything we do, we want to connect to working with the fascial network. So loosening up the fascial network. And now we're going to use the chair for a couple of other things. So now side the chairs, in front of the chairs, facing my side body. I'm going to put my weight into my left foot. Right leg is next to the edge of the chair. I'm going to lift my right knee up in the air, like the figure 4. Externally rotate that thigh and bring my foot to the chair, Vrksasana. Now, can you bring, isometrically draw the knee towards the back of the chair and feel that external rotation. I feel a lengthening in the inner thigh here. Okay, feel that work. Keep pulling this standing leg hip in so that the glutes are really working hard on the standing leg. And then there's this external rotation, big external rotation in the lifted leg. So you should feel your inner seam here, the inner seam of your leg working, lengthening. Keep drawing the knee away. And then balancing on the standing leg, can you just go ahead and bring that foot to touch your thigh, inner thigh, or your inner knee? We're not going to stay momentarily, and then release. Very good. Bounce the heels. Bounce the heels. All right. Shake out the legs. I'm going to turn my back side to you to do the other side. Weight is in the right leg now. Lift the left leg up. Externally rotate that leg. Put your foot on the chair. Keep the right hip pulling in. Draw the left knee away, 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 away. Feel the lengthening through your inner left leg. Yeah, feel this is our Vrksasana. And then without using your hands, can you just bring your left foot to touch somewhere on your right leg? Whew. And then release. Very good. And then bounce your heels. Bounce your heels. Shake your legs. Face the seat of the chair. Bring your hands to the seat of the chair, the couch, whatever you're using, the back of the couch. Come into the downward facing dog. So the head is between the biceps. Find downward dog here. I really feel when I use the chair, I can really feel my hamstrings getting fully lengthened. Okay, on your next inhale, rock yourself forward, lift your heels and come into upward facing dog. So it's a back bend, right? Chest over hands. You're on your toes, and then press your hips back, downward facing dog. Bring everything forward, come up onto your toes, come into the upward facing dog. Strong arms, lifted through the chest. One more time, back to downward facing dog. Great, now from your downward dog, just walk the feet a little closer to the chair. Okay, and we're going to come into, we're going to work with Ardha Chandrasana. So bring the right foot forward and the left foot back in a triangle shape. Triangle shape. Good. Now, what we're going to do is we'll bend through the front knee. You'll have to play with whether it's a hand on the chair or your forearm. But as you come forward, maybe the forearm to the chair, you could even grab the back of the chair. Keep both hands there for a minute. Lift the back leg. And then see if you can get the upper body to open here in Ardha Chandrasana. You can play around with whether it's the hand on the chair feels a little easier to you, but keep lifting this back leg. See if you can get the top leg parallel to the earth. It takes a lot of, work in the glutes here. Toes towards shins. You could also take your top hand to the back of the chair. And then bending through the top leg, take Chakrasana. Yeah, really keep the standing leg strong. Really, really extend through that leg. Release top foot. Turn your body. Turn your hips to square to the ground. Turn both hands onto the seat of the chair. Reach the top leg back so you're in the warrior 3 variation. So hips are now square to the floor, hands on the chair, standing leg strong. Then you can take both feet down. You're in a little bit of a forward fold or halfway lift. Walk your feet back, downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Okay, let's try the other side. So downward facing dog. Let's come forward. Let's do just a couple of flows here. Come forward to upward facing dog. Back to downward facing dog. And then walk your feet a little closer to the chair. Bring your left foot forward. Right foot back like you're in the triangle pose. So we bend through the front knee, and as we straighten the front leg, we lift the back leg. You could even take both hands to the chair. Find your balance this way. I've got my bottom hand on the seat of the chair and my top hand on the back of the chair. But see if you can open into your Ardha Chandrasana. Using the chair, really press the bottom hand, really press and keep the shoulder from creeping up into your ear. And then bending the top knee, we take Chakrasana. Oh, really, really extend through your standing leg. Pull the glutes in, like suck your outer hip in towards the midline. Reach back with the top leg, back to the Ardha Chandrasana. Then you turn your body to face the chair, turn your hips square to the floor, reach the back leg back. We're in Warrior 3 variation with our hands on the chair. Beautiful, everybody. And then bending through that front leg, bring both feet together. Ooh, let's take just the feet back just a little bit and just do a couple of cat-cows here. You could even bring your forearms to the chair. Just a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Bending through the knees, bringing hips back to over the heels, press up through Utkatasana and come up to Tadasana, standing pose. Bend your knees, bring your heels off the floor. Let the wobbly ankles is good. That means your legs are working. Then set your heels back down to the floor. Open your stance. Open your stance. Turn your right foot out like a side lungey kind of situation. And then with your back leg, the left leg, come up onto the inner edge of your foot and back to sole of your foot, inner edge of the foot, sole of the foot. Just go inner edge of the foot, sole of the foot, then we'll switch it up. Left knee lunges out, come up onto the inner edge of your right foot, sole of the foot, inner edge, sole. There we go. And then both feet wide. Inhale to reach your crown long, 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 long. Exhale, take a fold. Blocks are okay under the hands here if that's what you want. And then bend through your right knee, walk your hands over to the right foot. Take your left hand somewhere, either inside the right foot, on top of the right foot, in front of the right foot, and then straighten the right leg, coming into a nice twist. I feel this right in the belly, sort of the inner side of my hamstring. And then I bend through the right knee, both hands come to the floor. As I walk over to the left, I straighten the right leg, bend through the left leg. Right hand comes to the inside of my left foot, or fingers pointing towards toes, or maybe some of you all the way to the outside of that foot, and then straighten the left leg. Straighten the left leg. Maybe take the top arm up. But now feel where the sensation is in the hamstrings. With this wide stance, we're really targeting more the medial side, the inner hamstring. And then you can bend through your left knee, bring both hands back to the floor, walk hands right underneath your chest, and then walk your hands out in front of you, arms, upper body in the downward dog shape with the legs spread wide. Pull your kneecaps up. Pull your kneecaps up. Isometrically draw your feet towards one another. For 3, lift your arches. 2, 1, and walk your hands back towards your feet. Heel toe your feet together until you're in a big squat position. Bring your hands right in the middle of your space. You can have your inner legs kind of rest on your triceps until you can come all the way to a squat, pressing legs into arms, arms back into legs. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then from here, you'll come right to the floor. We'll do a little hip balance, so just lift the feet or take the legs parallel to the floor in a variation on Navasana, or the legs straight. And then from here, crossing your legs, one ankle underneath opposite knee. So knees stack over ankles, if possible, kind of making a square shape. Get your sit bones on the floor firmly and evenly, and the flesh of your buttocks back, and then up as much of a fold as possible. Now, if it's not possible for you to get the legs to be square, then tuck your feet in more like a Sukhasana. But now feel, as you come forward, you'll feel the sensation in the outer hips here. Notice any urge to be in a hurry. We come back up, bring the hands behind us for balance, and then just switch the orientation of the legs. Best to our ability, we're doing the lower legs square to one another versus more like the Sukhasana or the lotus position. And then move your buttocks flesh out of the way, sit bones firmly on the floor. This might be enough. Maybe you can come forward just a titch. Feeling for a lot of sensation here in the hips, the outer hips. Okay, then bring hands behind again, and now take your legs long, feet, heels evenly into the floor, pull your toes back towards your shins, press through the big toe mounds, really press through the big toe mounds. See if you can spread your toes wide here. So we're in the Dandasana shape. Hands behind our back. Press your heels into the floor, isometrically drawing your heels back towards your buttocks. Now engage your thighs, and then as much of a fold as feels possible in your body without rounding into your back. For 3, keep pulling the toes back towards the shins and pressing through the big toe mound. 2, 1. Now bend your knees as you slide your butt towards your heels, coming down onto your back. Pull your knees into your chest, crossing at the ankles, and a little rock back and forth, Apanasana. That should feel nice here. Good, then feet to the floor, arms out to the side. Let's revisit where we started with a little windshield wipers. Windshield wiper action, back and forth, nice and slow. Right into a little bit of rolling bridge. And so as we settle back down to some stillness, just take whatever you need. If you're ready to go to final Shavasana, go there. And otherwise you can take a little twist in both directions. And if you want to, if you're feeling like you'd like to come to some wall space, you could do the legs up the wall. Vritti Karina. You could take your feet up onto your chair, resting the lower legs on your chair, your couch, or wherever. Okay, just find a position that allows you to really settle now. And come to some stillness. And let your legs be heavy. Feel the back of your body, the back line of your body melting into the floor. Release any pursing around your eyes or your mouth. Let your breath be natural, no effort. And then just take your hands, resting hands somewhere around the heart space, touching in there to the heart space and offering gratitude to anyone who makes practice possible for you, really helps you get on the mat, encourages you, supports you in that way. Offering gratitude to yourself for showing up for practice. And just stay where you are. I will close us with an Om. Really enjoy the fourth part of the Om, the vibration. You could also do a silent Om with me, but just enjoy the final part of the Om here. Here we go. Om. Namaste.